everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
And Eric and I today are going to do another speculation video. This is something Eric wanted to do, and goes kind of all the way back to the beginning again. It seems like every time X-Men stuff is about to come out and we start doing speculation stuff, we get a little bit nostalgic and sentimental, Eric. And
every once in a while,
yeah,
our videos take a leap forward, and.
Eric, the next stage of video evolution, it's Geekvolution now! Anyway, Eric, what would you like to talk about today, sir?
Okay, well, so... I'm not saying that there won't be anything interesting or cool about the Apocalypse movie, or about X-Men Apocalypse, which everyone is calling Age of Apocalypse. Like, everyone just inherently is just calling it Age of Apocalypse.
Because that's what it ought to be called if it weren't for...
Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron, yeah. Although we don't really know what they're doing in that movie, but I bet we'll find out when we see that movie that title would have fit that better than Age of Ultron fit Age of Ultron. But who knows?
Yeah, it could be interesting. He could take over the whole world. But they've said before that this is the end of this trilogy. This is the end of them being in the past.
Yeah.
Presumably everything we'll get after Apocalypse will be set now or in what did they say in the first movie?
The not too distant future, which of course I want to say that's a Claremont thing. I don't know if that's true but I know the '90s show used it, and I'm pretty sure it's comic book, and the '90s show was heavily Claremont, so I think that might be a Claremont thing.
So my idea was, instead of just speculating on Apocalypse, let's talk about what we could see possibly moving forward after this, because they said for a while they were doing an X-Force movie, and now that seems to have been tabled, and there's going to be a New Mutants movie. So there's nothing concrete. It's not like the Marvel films where, we know what's happening until the day we die. Like, we don't know everything that's coming out.
Yeah, we could. I mean, it's quite a few years out. It's always possible.
Well, it's Infinity War Part 2, and then poof, there goes
This
the
is
planet.
going to be incredibly depressing if by 2020 one of us is not here anymore.
What's going to be even more depressing is whoever's alive remembers that comment was made.
Yeah, comes and starts commenting on this. Okay, well, anyway.
And then someone's going to get really offended by this video and comment and be like, well, I'm not alive by the year 2020, and that's not okay.
Well, anyway, okay, so I guess where we should start is maybe what we know already. So Deadpool.
We know Deadpool's coming, but I don't know if we know if that's canon.
I want to say that it is.
I think they've mentioned there might be a Hugh Jackman cameo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how interconnected it's going to be and how much they're going to play with continuity with that. I doubt that.
And it's so fourth wall breaking. Like,
yeah.
I feel like it could reference the films, but not necessarily have to be part of that.
Well, yeah. Well, I've said this before. I think it's likely to make fun of the soft reboot thing.
Oh,
I think it's likely to make fun of the fact that Ryan Reynolds played the previous Deadpool, that nobody liked.
There is going to be a joke about Brockapool. Like, that's going to happen. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, there's got to be. So, yeah, you're right. Being that fourth wall breaking, it'll be interesting to see if it does anything to give us hints of moving forward, and if it does anything to springboard us, because it could do that. I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
I don't know. It's so weird that that's even getting made.
Yeah.
And
it's fascinating. I'm excited about it. I mean, because
I am too, and I'm not a Deadpool guy.
I'm not either, but I'm more of one. What's so weird these days is that I'm more of a Deadpool guy than most of the people I know, because I love buns, and so every time he puts out Deadpool, I buy that. And I've read more Deadpool than a lot of people know.
You read Kelly's run, right?
I read the first 5 volumes of Deadpool Classics, and I want to say that's all of Kelly.
Yeah, I've read the beginning of Kelly's run. I'm not a huge Deadpool guy. Well, and he got really oversaturated, and I just got tired of him.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I was like, a joke's not funny when there's 5 books telling the same joke, and that joke is being inserted in every other book this month. I just got tired of it.
They've kind of fixed it now, though.
Oh, they've absolutely fixed it. It's so much better now.
It's quite good now. Anyway, so I don't know. I just felt like we should probably at least mention that moving forward, because that's really the only thing we know right now.
I think we know for a fact, I think Colossus is in it, and Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Who's a Morrison character.
What the heck is that? I didn't even know that was a thing.
It's a Morrison character. Just roll with it.
That's all I need to know. Yeah. Okay. Well, now there also is, unless it's been tabled too, isn't there supposed to be like a Gambit movie?
Yeah, it's starring Channing Tatum.
Yeah, that's still happening, right?
Who I'm completely for being Gambit solely because he said he wanted the role because he likes Gambit and he is one of his favorite things is to do a Cajun accent.
Yeah.
Just the fact that he was like, yeah, I want to do it because I like doing a Cajun accent. I'm like, sold.
Yeah. He'll actually do that.
These are really weirdly anti-accents.
Yeah.
Gloss is Russian. He doesn't sound Russian.
Which is funny because...
Banshee is Irish. He's not Irish.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks Irish, but he doesn't speak in that accent.
Yeah, no. X-Men movies don't have accents, except for British and Southern.
Which is hilarious because apparently it is all or nothing with X-Men, because when you go to the 90s show, they not only have accents, they are the most stereotypical accents ever.
It's kind of how Claremont wrote them.
The thing I can't, but it's hilarious. The thing I can't stop making fun of is Colossus. The episode that in that show that gives his background.
One episode.
Is that the only thing he's in?
I think that's the only episode.
There's an episode that gives his background, and he uses the word family no less than 13 times in that. And he keeps going, my family! And just the way he says it, I lose my family! And it's hilarious to me. Anyway. So yeah, all or nothing. With X-Men accents.
It seems to be all or nothing, but I just, like, to me, like, something as little as that is like, well, Gambit's got a Cajun accent, I like doing Cajun accents. I was like, that feels, I don't know, kind of authentic, like...
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Channing Tatum has done like a weird thing. Like I didn't like him, but I've kind of come to like him over time. So we've got to assume that movie is set in present day. Now, is there going to be? I guess there won't be an X-Men movie, or whatever the present will be now, near future. So it's so funny, by the way, to go back and watch the 1999 movie. And it's like, I guess it's, and it's like a not too distant future, that clearly the 90s, but and that we. They're listening to Backstreet Boys.
Well, in the second one, yeah.
That's the not too distant past.
but anyway, X-Men days of not too distant past. Anyway, so with Gambit, I've got this thing with some of these characters' ages where I wonder if they're going to have to keep flubbing them like they sort of have with First Class and beyond.
It's so weird because their continuity is so messed up at this point.
And people will say, well, Days of Future Past soft rebooted it, so it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, but people are still the same ages they would be. Like, it's not like that reboot would change when people are born and of what generation, right?
Well, Days of Future Past, and I think First Class does too, we're just ignoring X-Men Origins Wolverine. Like, that did not happen.
Yeah, we're just ignoring it. But the problem is there are occasionally references to it, too.
Are there?
Yeah, and now that I've said that, I can't think of any examples, but it seems
because we have Stryker Days of Future Past, and he's completely different than he was in X-Men Origins. He still doesn't have the Southern accent he has in X-Men 2.
No, maybe I guess he gains that later. I don't know.
He picks up as people do. He picks up a really thick accent.
Right. No, you're right. We do have him there. And he's not really but he's not like he is in X2 either. So I don't know what's contradictory.
X2 didn't happen.
What's that?
I said theoretically X2 doesn't happen.
No. But we see him in the continuity when X2 would have happened. Yeah, we don't wipe things away till the end. Like what is contradictory in that movie to what he's like in Origins? Is what I'm saying.
The time period thing, I think, if I remember correctly.
Oh,
because that movie's set in the 70s, and Origins is set in the 70s, and I don't know.
Does that really?
I know there's something. I remember
okay, I'm just not sure that necessarily really contradicts anything, because he's still kind of a young guy. He looks older in Origins, but like other than that, I'm just not sure what's really that contradictory about it. I mean, well, he
doesn't go and recruit Wolverine and Cyclops from Vietnam.
Yeah,
he pulls them out of the water. Although that's Mystique.
Yeah, but is that a thing that we were told happens?
Yeah. In X-Men Origins Wolverine, he goes and recruits Wolverine Sabretooth from Vietnam.
Oh well, yeah, that's true. Well, he hasn't done
this
that.
Vietnam's
He hasn't done
over,
that
and-
yet. Oh, yeah, you're right. Vietnam's over. Okay, you're right, because it's 73. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, you win. No, you're right. I mean, we are mostly pretending like it. I seem to remember there being a thing or two.
Deadpool was kind of the salt in that wound of just like, no, we're not even gonna. No, that's.
We're not even gonna talk about that.
And
Yeah.
Emma Frost in First Class.
Yeah, but see, now it would just be really easy to say, well, moving forward, stuff we changed in the past would move those people away from where they were. So, like, certain characters, it's not really that big of it. Like the Deadpool thing, that could easily have just not happened now.
Yeah. Well, Emma Frost couldn't, because Emma Frost was set in the 60s.
But yeah, that already...
set in the 60s.
Yeah. That, anything prior to 73 happened the way it happened. So you're right, like...
It's the same thing as the Khan thing.
Star Trek, yeah. No. Importantly, it's more that it's because it's the catalyst, right? It's more that it's the same thing as the Nero thing, because it's from that point forward.
I was thinking Khan because we go back in time, and Emma Frost is different than she is in a story set later in time. You know what I mean?
When do we see Emma Frost besides First Class?
X-Men Origins.
She's
one of the prisoners that they let free, and she's like a skinny. Like,
that's right. I always forget what random characters are in that scene. Sorry,
Cyclops is there too, and theoretically, Cyclops' age will be different in Apocalypse.
It would have to be, and maybe that's the thing we should talk about
in that movie in the first place, because he's like 15 when 5 Mile Island happened.
Yeah, that's what's so weird about it. And then you get to 99. Of course, we're not really calling it 90. We're saying we don't. They're ambiguous about those years.
We made 99 set in 2001.
They're ambiguous about those dates, but they're not about the stuff set in the past now with the 60s, 70s, and 80s, so that gets weird. But, like, there, he looks like he's all of 23.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, he looks super young.
Give him a little bit older, so maybe like 25, 27, maybe.
Yeah, okay, but you said a thing in the 80s, and he's going to be one of the first X-Men, and is he going to be 15? Is he going to be that young?
I think he is cast. I'm not sure how old he is.
Okay, all right. Well, moving forward, I guess we should start making predictions and speculate about where we're going past. And with the actual X-Men movies. Yeah, go ahead.
I think one big thing that you have to discuss moving all of the X-Men forward is, I mean, at this point it's kind of The Boy Who Called Wolf, but Hugh Jackman is saying that X-Men, or that Wolverine 2 is his last film.
Wolverine 3. We're going to call it Wolverine 2. That's fair. Okay, that's fair. Yeah. Okay, so that's a good place to go. So I've got to assume that I mean, who knows, but wouldn't you figure that movie is probably going to be really important in setting up the status quo moving forward, because we've got to either write Wolverine out or recast him. And
I've heard rumors that it's Old Man Logan, and instead of Hawkeye, it's going to be Patrick Stewart as Professor X tooling around with him.
If they're doing that, then it's probably going to be more future past where we're going to be in the I just said future past. Future, past where we will be in the present moving forward. So it might not tell us anything.
Right?
It's going to be, so it'll be like if Days of Future Past was mostly set in the future except not post-apocalyptic, right?
No, that's the rumor I've heard. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, who knows? I have heard rumors that Patrick Stewart's supposed to be in it regardless of whether or not it's Old Man Logan, but yeah.
I would think, well, it's because he's so waffly, right? Like, right before he announced that this was the last time he was playing Wolverine, he said he was going to play Wolverine until he was too old to play Wolverine.
Yeah.
And then before that, I think he said the Wolverine it was Days of Future Past was going to be his last film.
So it's up in the air. I mean,
But if he goes away, I feel like if he's really going away, that movie's got to be a big deal, right? Like, he has to die in that or something.
Or something, but even and maybe what they'll do is they'll kill him in that, and it's like a future thing. But then they'll just recast him and pretend like it's the same character. I mean, that might here's the thing. Yeah, because he's gonna get too old, and he's supposed to be immortal, and he's gonna look
every movie, and at some point it's gonna be dangerous.
And it doesn't matter if it's set in the past or not; it doesn't make any difference. Yeah, but here's the thing: as much as I love Days of Future Past, now let me stress, I love Days of Future Past.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
But I thought that they did the soft reboot thing the best I've ever seen it, and it was just like what Star Trek should have been. And like like, are there things that it doesn't explain? Yeah, but the story's pretty good, and it's interesting, and I'm excited moving forward, and I can't wait to see what Weapon X thing is, which I would assume the next Wolverine movie will explain. I would assume that.
Yeah, I didn't think about it, but if it's not,
I'm fixated on that. I want to know what Weapon X is now, because when he wakes up in the future, he's still... well, now, they don't show his adamantium claws in the future, I don't think, so we don't know. Could be any...
The Wolverine is so weird timeline-wise now.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Well,
it's as weird as the after-credits scene of the Wolverine.
Importantly, though, the Wolverine has to have been wiped out now. Almost certainly, because
the director said,
no, Jean's still alive at the end of Days of Future Past. It's wiped out.
Yeah, you're right.
All of the Wolverine is him.
It still happened. He just wasn't as sad.
Yeah, well, it happened for him. It's like Nero. Don't tell me it didn't happen. I was there. It happened. It happened for him, but it's been wiped. I saw it happen, but it's been wiped out.
Yeah. Well,
for the rest of us,
I didn't think about this, but they set up the Weapon X thing at the end of Days of Future Past, and this is assuming that they actually have any plan beyond, yes, we're going to make another X-Men movie.
Yeah. Because right now, it's hard not to be like, oh boy, the X-Men films are back and great and exciting, and, well, we had 2 really good ones, and the Wolverine's okay, but
I like the Wolverine. I think
but who knows? I mean, we haven't had a bad X-Men movie since Origins.
Yes. I was like, did something come out after Origins? No, yeah.
So almost half of them are good. The thing is, we got to a point there where we're just like, quit making X-Men movies. They're not working. But we've only had 2 bad ones. The problem is, after Origins, that was half. You see what I'm saying? I mean, X3 and Origins, that was half.
I feel like there was a lot of time in between them, wasn't there?
There was, yeah.
Like, I feel like there was 3, and that was a little while before Wolverine, and there was a little while before First Class.
Yeah, and then suddenly we had 2 years in a row, and that blew our minds, because we'd never had that.
But so I think Wolverine is a big component. If it's not Old Man Logan, is it possible that the Wolverine 2 is a sequel to Days of Future Past, and that covers all the Weapon X stuff?
That's what I'm saying, yeah. That's what I would have assumed before you said the Old Man Logan, and I had heard that as a possible rumor.
All the really ridiculous stuff like Omega Red.
I just would... The thing is, as much as I would love to see an adaptation, potentially, of Old Man Logan, I mean, I think he would tear it up. I think it would be really...
That's the thing, is he would be so good at it.
It would be really fun to see
Especially if it's him and Patrick Stewart, and getting to see Patrick Stewart kind of be a little bit more silly.
Yeah, and to see Patrick, and also to finally wrap up some of the stuff with those characters, regardless of whether or not we wipe it out of continuity or we never see it again or whatever. It would be really nice. Because one of the things I complained about real hard with X3 is they killed Patrick Stewart before they had they killed Professor X before those 2 had a chance to reconcile. And that always really kind of bugged me. I wanted to see that. And now we can do so. I mean, it won't have to be, they don't have to reconcile, we don't have to have that, but it would just be nice.
Even happen.
No, it hasn't even happened really, but, except for Wolverine, he was there, don't tell him it didn't happen. But, it would be, but it would be nice to...
me in the airport, you told me we needed to fight together.
It would be, everyone saw Trask on a monitor! But it would be nice to see their relationship, fleshed out a bit more.
Yeah. Well, and I think that they're really the 2 enduring ones, them and obviously Ian McKellen.
Yeah, but he said he's straight up, he's done.
Yeah.
Although, you know what's really funny? Well before Days of Future Past, he put out a tweet at one point or something and said, this is like probably 5 years ago, and was like, I'm too old for X-Men movies, and then suddenly Days of Future Past. And I'm like, I don't trust anything anybody says anymore. I mean, you just never know. Anything's possible. Anything's on the table. Back before, you remember Leonard Nimoy, really sad, of course, that he's gone now, but you remember, Leonard Nimoy used to retire all the time.
I'm still not sure he's done.
Like, he would retire.
He might be in Star Trek 3.
He would retire, and then maybe they shot some things, but no, because that script wasn't even. But he would retire, and then a couple months later he'd be doing voiceover work, and I'm like, you're not retired. But anyway,
it's like Rolling Stones.
So anything could happen.
their going away concert, their retirement concert every year.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you can't be sure of anything. And then famously, you and I always like to talk about this. That we had that quote at one point from Nolan that like no villains that had ever been in movies before were gonna be in Dark Knight Rises, and then we got Bane and Catwoman. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, they've been in movies, but okay.
Rather famously.
No, not infamously the other, but but anyway.
Okay. So I mean, you and I say this every single time we talk about this. So next movie's Sinister, right? Like we have to finally do Mr. Sinister,
right? It's got, and we can't stop. Well, I want to say we said that when we did First Class, all those years ago.
I mean, Days of Future Past makes sense as a kind of the next thing for the continuity and whatnot, but and Apocalypse arguably is a bigger villain than Sinister.
Yeah, and Apocalypse is one of the big names that people were throwing around for years and always wanted to see, and I always wanted to see, and I like Apocalypse. Don't get me wrong, I'm stoked for that movie. But yeah, Sinister would be wonderful, and especially now that we're actually going to have, hopefully, probably not a shafted Cyclops, it's time to do Sinister. Because Sinister and Cyclops have a lot of stuff to do with each other.
Well, it's actually weird thinking back. Like, look at X-Men 1 and 2. I don't know if you could have done Sinister. But now we've gone so much more comic book.
That's a great point. Yeah. If they'd done him, he would have been different. He would have been a different thing.
He probably would have been like the Ultimate version, who's kind of just like a mutant, like, drug lord.
Yeah.
Who has a diamond tattoo on his forehead. Like, it probably would have been something closer to that.
Now you got my mind racing. I got a couple questions for you. First of all, now that I brought up the Cyclops thing, will these movies ever go to space? We know that they have the rights to the Shi'ar, and they've got things that Marvel can't use with Guardians and stuff that they should probably take advantage of somewhere. What do you think?
I never would have thought they would have.
But I think they could now.
I think, but like with the X-Men films, I never thought that those films could ever entertain the idea of space. I think everything is different after the Avengers. I think now that
everything's different after Guardians, especially because they've got characters
Earth
you would do
with superheroes in Avengers, and I think after that, it's no longer as big a leap for the X-Men films to do that as well.
And also, as you said, because of all the comic book stuff they've done, if you can do Apocalypse. I mean, honestly, I don't know. You would have had Apocalypse back in the first two movies.
No, I don't know if I actually want them to go to space, because I kind of think the X-Men are boring in space, and I don't like the Shi'ar, but...
Okay, well, fair enough. And also, if you're not going to have... Okay, let me ask you this. Because I was about to say, if you're not going to have Professor X anymore, you maybe wouldn't want to do the Shi'ar because he's kind of important for that stuff.
Well, that's a big question. If we jump back to present day, do we just recast everybody?
Are we not even going to... Because they say, this is the end of this being in the past thing. Yeah, are we going to recast everybody? Or are we going to move on without certain characters? Are we just not going to have Professor X at a certain point? But the problem is, we know... The thing is...
was that it was going to jump us to today, and we were going to have, that Professor X and that Magneto now.
But no. Well, the thing is, importantly, we didn't see present day at the end of Days of Future Past. We saw the time we were in with the Sentinels, but changed. So, everybody's older. That's what that was. So, I know you know that, but I'm just setting this up. So, what's weird moving forward in telling stories is, unless they do another time travel thing, we know everything more or less turns out okay. Everything we do from now on is still, no matter when we set it, unless we go way to the future, sort of prequel territory. Because we know who lives.
Well, and...
We don't know, or at least we know a lot of characters that live. Now, we don't know that everybody does, but we know that Beast is there in the future. We know Jean Grey's there. We know Cyclops is there.
He really wants to come back. He said he really wants to be in an X-Men movie again.
Yeah, and I would love that. He was wonderful.
Me too. He was super underutilized in 3.
Yeah.
And I think he was one of the casting decisions Singer made before he left originally.
Yeah.
Which makes way more sense when you look at that whole movie.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But, could we have this weird mix of, some of the old actors, some new actors, playing the old characters?
Yeah, it's
and
really...
who do you cast to play Wolverine?
Who? And do you try to, regardless of the fact that we've already seen the future, and we saw Hugh Jackman there, and it's all this stuff is still in continuity, do we try to make a Wolverine that looks more like comic book version and maybe even acts more like that? And well, although I think he acts like comic book Wolverine, but just, do we cast shorter? Do we try to make a scrappy guy?
No,
I would say don't do that. You kind of want somebody that sort of looks like him, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, who would it be? I don't know.
It's kind of funny because who played Sabretooth in X-Men Origins? Lee Schreiber? He actually probably could have been a pretty good Wolverine.
That's true. And also, it's important that you brought that up because this would not, of course, be the first time that we've recast and had versions that look very different. I mean, the Sabretooth from the first X-Men movie is nothing like him.
Yeah.
At all, So I mean, like, they've done that before. Look, as I always say, as long as the stories are good, I don't care that much about the continuity stuff.
This is
especially if they're trying. Some of this is just impossible. They're stuck with some stuff where it's just like, what do you do? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and there's so much just like this is the only franchise I think is really like this, at least in films. It's fitting, isn't it, that the X-Men films have become this confusing and convoluted?
That's a good point, and this always cracks me up with movies also, because...
This was the master plan, was to make the movies as confusing to figure out as the comics.
Because it's been like that in the comics forever, and they are, famously really soap opera, but importantly... It happens that way because there are issues and issues compounded upon many, many series all happening simultaneously that people can't keep track of, writers can't keep track of, and readers especially also. You're only talking about 7 movies so far. You know what I mean? Like, I know it sounds like a lot.
Did you get, like, the Marvel's done?
But we couldn't get 4 in without not even being able to remotely keep track of what we do. Like, we had already botched up Cyclops' age, I think.
Yep. Well, but...
I think. I don't know. Maybe he could be that. I don't
know.
Do
you think they have a plan? I actually wonder, because I actually think of all of the different things they're trying to build a universe.
Yeah.
X-Men's not a bad one. Just because they have so many characters, and they have a really easy, origin story for everyone. They're all mutants. They have superpowers. Move forward.
Yeah.
There's been discussions of an X Factor TV show. I assume that's the Peter David, detective X Factor stuff, but I might be wrong. And Fox throws a lot of stuff out there that they never follow up on.
Yeah, later... Stop announcing things! I haven't heard word one... Well, this wasn't Fox, but they used to own it. I haven't heard word one about that Tick relaunch series since they announced it. I haven't heard anything about that.
True. I want to say, I saw a quote a month ago where it's we're really hoping it's going to happen. What do you mean you're hoping it's? You told us. You told
Amazon already signed Warburton. What are you talking about?
It's not going to happen. You told me it was going to happen.
Okay, I think a really important question, because you said, do they have a plan? I would argue that if Singer remains involved, whether he's just helping to write and produce or directing, that they might be able to get away with at least having good stories. Because people complained, of course, with First Class, certain characters weren't there, they wanted them there, and then it wasn't the right for it. But whatever you think about what they should have done, in my opinion, as a solid story. It's a really good movie. As long as Singer is involved, and my big question is, will he stay on and do anything after Apocalypse? I think he should, because his track record outside of X-Men has not been great in the last 10 years.
Yeah, he has X-Men and Usual Suspects.
Yeah, I think if he's involved, they don't need one. I think he is creative and imaginative and innovative and interesting enough that if... maybe innovative is not the right word. I'm just throwing out words. I'm just throwing out adjectives now.
Yeah, I don't know if I do anything.
Maybe that's not. But I think that he is creative and loves that world now enough that they might not need one. He might be able to keep writing them out of corners, a la Breaking Bad.
Well, but when I say plan, I don't mean necessarily story. I do mean this actor stuff.
Oh, yeah.
This timeline stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think when they say we're not going to do any more X-Men films or period pieces, do they have a plan for what happens next? Do they know, okay, we're going to recast everybody. Okay, we're gonna keep these people because they want to come back. We're going to recast these characters. We're just not going to use those characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and how weird is it going to be if we go to present day, whatever that is, and everybody's different, but then we've seen the future of the time from Days of Future Past with all the people that we used to know playing those. That's going to be weird. And there's a number of them that are still young enough that they could get away with playing the 10 years older versions of those characters.
And this is awful for Cyclops. There's a small part of me that wants Cyclops to get like 3 minutes of screen time in Apocalypse just to confirm that Bryan Singer hates and does not care about that character.
Don't say that. I think because of all the backlash, he's going to be the protagonist of that.
Oh, I hope so. I love Cyclops. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But it would suck for Cyclops because, well, I guess Storm too. Maybe you bring them back as teachers. Maybe that's where you catch up. Like, we know that these are kind of the most famous and important X-Men characters, but, like, because of actors and stuff, and then they only have to shoot, a couple of scenes for a movie. You know what I mean?
And then you keep everybody you had in 99 and 2003. Yeah. Maybe that's the way to go. Yeah, and then you could do a couple action things with them here and there if you need to, but yeah, you have, like, a next... So you had First Class, you have some sort of, like, next class.
But they would have to be older because, theoretically, like we're still going to make New Mutants?
What do you mean they'd have to be older? Who would have to be older?
The next class? Because we're doing New Mutants, which are the young teenage X-Men. So you wouldn't go there, but maybe about the age they were in the first
X-Men. Maybe they're 25, but then our guys look 40.
Yeah.
And they all are about that age. So, I mean, I think that would work. I mean, and they even had to make... What I like about all this, if we try to make it look consistent, and who knows if they'll do that. I mean, you had things like Toad. How is Toad in 1973... looking
how does he look like that?
Totally different.
He's just Ray Park with some green on stuff on his face.
Yeah, exactly, and looks about the same age. I don't know. Maybe being sort of.
Let's just go with like different artists.
And when you say it like that, you can almost get away with it, right? It's like the stylistic thing. We do that in the comics,
Yeah. Who's the guy that's drawing the Uncanny stuff? That guy.
Yeah, I can't think of his name right now. But no, he's. You're talking about the stuff right now.
I don't know the stuff right now, but the guy that's been doing most of Uncanny. The guy who's got that kind of weird style that really works.
Yeah. I don't know how you bring that to scream it. Yeah, no, I know who you're talking about. I just can't think of his name right now.
Oh, okay. You know, like comparing him to, like, Jim Lee. Like, they're just stylistic differences, right? What's weird is it's the same director, but...
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, that is weird, isn't it? Why did they do that?
Maybe he's like... I was going to make a reference you wouldn't even have gotten.
Well, you're welcome to. There might be somebody watching that would.
I was going to say, maybe he's like Akira Toriyama, and he just forgets everything he's done before.
See, someone laughed at that, and that made it worth doing. Okay, but anyway, this is neither here nor there at all. But this reminds me of a point I made when we were speculating about Days of Future Past, and I did a video about all of the covers from a magazine where they showed what everybody looked like. And one of the things that they showed in that was a Sentinel, and it looked like somebody was like on scaffolding working on a Sentinel. And I was like, "Oh, this is cool. We get to see like a half-built. We're looking at a half-built Sentinel, and they're doing this like viral marketing thing. They're not going to let us know what they look like yet, and then that's just what they look like." And people in the comments were like, "Cap, that's just what they look like, dude." And I was, oh, and then in the context of the movie, they look great. But I was like, oh.
If I was placed in charge of the X-Men,
yeah,
I would keep this period. I would go I would make Apocalypse the last time we jump and just move forward from there. And then you have your Jean Grey and your Storm and your Cyclops, and I would just keep working from there. I feel like that makes the most sense.
I wonder if Fox isn't thinking that it wouldn't feel relevant enough if we kept it in the past. But I feel like
it would make it the most distinct, with everyone trying to do cinematic universes and so many superhero films, to have a franchise that's just in the 80s going into the 90s.
I'm with you.
That makes it so much more unique.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that would be a great idea. Also, what is the period that not everybody, but a lot of us most fondly remember the X-Men? It's the 80s, and then with the animated series, it is the 90s. What you do is you're right, you do a couple more movies in the 80s, maybe even 3 or 4. I mean, we keep making these things, and we keep going kind of Claremontian. Then you get to the 90s, and you just make it look like the cartoon show. I mean, like I just feel like, and not entirely, but I'm just saying, like, you play with those vibes and stuff, and that's not to say that you have to make it, that you have to completely lean on nostalgia all the time, where you can't do anything new, but it's a setting, yeah.
Yeah, and it would make, I mean, there's rumors and there's concept art for Apocalypse that looks like we might get Mohawk Storm.
Wow.
And, like, that's such a cool little thing that you could do with a lot of things in the X-Men. It's just like, oh, they have, like, this 80s look. They don't look like the Marvel movies. They don't look like, you know...
I would love to see Wolverine's, and he's not going to be in that movie.
That's what you do.
I would love to see...
What you do to recast Wolverine, you throw the new guy in a costume.
Well, what I was going to say is I'd love to see his 80s look. I'd love to see the brown suit.
Yeah.
Because I love that suit. I think it's great.
Yeah, me too. I think that's how you...
Here's what we need to not do, though. There are places where you must draw a line, Eric, and I feel like one of them is to not put Jean Grey in the mostly flesh-colored suit. I never understood that suit. When I was a kid, I thought she wasn't wearing clothes.
I never understood as a kid that she didn't have a code name. She needs a code name?
Yeah, I never understood. I guess Jean Grey is just such a cool name that's just what. But did you ever notice that with that costume? She's got the skin tight suit, right?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And looks like she's got like a holster thing on her leg with nothing else. Like, how does that work? I always thought when I was a kid. Anyway, don't do that suit, but do the 80s Wolverine suit.
So, do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, if let's say what we just said they did do, where they're like, well, we're not doing period pieces, we're not jumping, we're just moving forward. I think if you do that, you're redoing the Phoenix Saga, right? Like, that's gonna happen. Moving forward, if we're jumping to present, do we try to redo that story?
That's a great question, Eric. I never thought of that. It would be so weird to do it, because...
Especially if that was when you brought in the Shi'ar.
That's how you went to space.
Stuff.
What would be so bizarre, first of all, there would have to be a catalyst where something happens because of what we've already changed that makes that come to Earth, and I don't know how you do that, unless it's just we send the X-Men to space and it happens there. Because if it's something from space shows up, then you're like, well, why didn't it show up in the original timeline? We're paving over. It's a different timeline. So, but what would also be weird about it is, it would be so, and again, if the story's good, then, I'll enjoy it, but wouldn't that be bizarrely convenient that there is this entity in space called the Phoenix, but that Professor X came up with that name for the psychological thing?
3 didn't happen. Like, Bryan Singer is just kind of acting like it doesn't matter that we did it before and this is what it is.
Yeah.
Let's just do it right. Like, I think if they did it, that's what the thought process is.
But the problem is we're picking and choosing. We're going very Spawn McFarlane at that point, because while you are right that we are mostly ignoring X-Men Origins, you cannot deny that at least with casting, we're not ignoring X3. We kept
Well, Days of Future Past seems like while it just ignored X-Men Origins, it almost seems like it exists to fix 3.
Yeah, but it still keeps a lot of things from it.
Remove 3 from continuity.
But the Wolverine used a lot from 3.
And the Wolverine's gone.
Well, it's gone, but it still happened for Wolverine. I'm just saying, like we've not completely.
I don't.
We've been. All I'm saying is we've been ignoring Origins mostly, but X3 we haven't really been ignoring.
But I think we will moving forward. I think because of Days of Future Past, we're going to go.
Okay. I guess we'll see.
The Star Trek 2 thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't let the previous continuity affect your ability to tell a good story.
Yeah, if you're actually telling a good story.
Yeah, let's say that they want to do the Phoenix right. I don't feel like they should be hindered from doing that because it was done badly.
No, I don't.
And it doesn't even count now. Like, it's not even canon at this point because of time stuff.
Yeah, it's true. Now, what you gotta wonder, though, is moving forward okay, so you have to assume that X2 didn't happen anything like the way it did because Jean Grey's still there. Unless they fixed the thing with her in 3 in some other way, where that all still happened, but it happened differently. Because my point is, you don't know at what point that all changes, right? This is all very complicated. You don't know at what point that all changes, and that's going to be very interesting. Here's my point. From what we've changed in the past, what would make Professor X and Magneto make a different decision about how they deal with her when they first meet her?
Well, I think...
Not that it makes any sense that they're together there in the first place.
Yeah, no, because that's already different, right?
Yeah,
like, we've already changed that. And I mean, if we're saying...
Well, presumably. Now, we don't know what they're going to do with Apocalypse.
Well, no, because she's like 6, and set in the 60s.
Once again, Apocalypse wouldn't matter, because that's moving forward from a thing we've already changed, so whatever. But yeah.
But, I mean, theoretically, if you wanted to, you could have something in the 80s say that she's infected, and that's why she's got that other personality, and he doesn't realize that it's an alien entity.
That's great. And I would imagine that he would think of something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea. No, that would work. It'd be great.
But I mean, I feel like that's the big elephant in the room with the X-Men, is that this is the story that everyone thinks is the best.
That
this is the pinnacle of X-Men.
Done it right. Yeah.
And we messed it up.
We not only messed it up, we just didn't even tell that story.
We also stole from the Joss Whedon arc, and we stole from... Yeah, it's not good. Well, and we know Angel's in this. I think. Yeah, we know Angel's in this.
And he's going to be just totally differently aged then, because he's a kid in that. Okay, well...
Yeah, no, I think we are just ignoring contradictions. I think we are... Everything...
Yeah, I think you're right. The more we're talking,
I think moving forward... First Class, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse. That's all that matters timeline-wise. I think that's all we care about as a studio.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that, but because that we had that future thing at the end of Days of Future Past, and that one little bit we got in the future, like I'm just saying.
I'm not saying it works. I'm just saying I think as a studio creatively moving forward.
Yeah, you're probably right. But as I said, I still think that it is potentially problematic, or at the very least, interesting to see if you can keep things dramatic when we know that certain people definitely survive and are happy in the future.
Well, then you just murder somebody and be like, well, clearly that future didn't happen. Beast is dead.
Yeah, but once again, I hate to be a broken record, but once again, we've got Wolverine that experienced all of it.
I don't...
And have him there in the future. So he's the thing that keeps it all together and keeps all that continuity, except for the stuff that we ignored, as a thing that happened, at least for him. So I don't see just randomly changing that.
I don't...
Just because it's a fan service ending.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like they got themselves in such a quagmire. That's probably why they're looking at doing X-Force and X-Factor and New Mutants. Is like, let's just not deal with this mess we've made for ourselves.
Well, but importantly...
Let's deal with a simpler character. Let's make a Cable movie.
Importantly, Days of Future Past... simpler. Days of Future Past was... And then let's throw Deadpool in it and have a fourth wall thing and make it even more confusing. But Days of Future Past was there to try to help to simplify some of this. And in a way, we've made it even more complicated.
No, it's way more complicated.
Yeah.
Maybe it wouldn't have been if they actually cared and went through continuity. But Angel is in Apocalypse. It's set in the 80s. And he's at least going to be a teenager, if not an adult.
Yeah.
So X-Men 3 can't happen.
And are we positive that it's the same Angel? They're not going to just have a different character, a guy with a different name, and call him that?
Well, based on the concept art, he's a guy with wings who then gets turned into Archangel as a guy with metal wings.
Yeah, I'm just saying they could have him not be
Warren
Worthington. He could be somebody else. Wouldn't it be really funny if he was Warren
Worthington II?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. That's what I was gonna say. Wouldn't it be really funny if he was the Angel that we saw from later as father? I mean, you have to assume
later he's yelling at his son. And he walks in. He's like, "Not you too." Okay, I guess that could be himself. That could change the context. That line is, it's him. He has the wings that he keeps cutting off. I just made X-Men 3 better.
But I don't buy that guy was ever an X-Men. Anyway, okay, so why is he now so anti-mutant? Whatever. So my question
because
now...
he got turned by Apocalypse, and Apocalypse is a mutant, and so that made him not trust mutants from that point forward, and hate himself for being it.
Sure. So anyway, okay, so do we know for sure yet that they're just going to say that the Summers are brothers and instead of father and son?
No, I have no idea.
I mean, that's a thing that we don't know about yet, and how they're going to deal with that.
Yeah, there's that other Summers brother they could bring in, Vulcan. I don't like him, but he exists.
But I'm just saying, like, because, I mean, you're right, we're doing a lot of ignoring things and stuff, but if we're going to have Cyclops in this third movie of this prequel franchise...
You think they'd mention...
No, we have to deal with that. Especially because, importantly, and I don't know why they did this, Alex Summers is the only one they left alive! They killed everyone else! Right. So he's still around. You see what I'm saying? I mean,
I will never forgive them for murdering Banshee.
He is because he was cool. But Alex Summers is likely to be in this movie at least somewhere for a minute. He's the only one they left alive. They have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't have to be just like comics. I don't care if he's his brother or whatever, but they have to tell us. There's something.
And if they bring them in there, they're connected. That could lead to Sinister.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that this is the right time for Sinister because we have them together, and I don't know, maybe they'll make up a whole new character for his father and do something with him. I don't know, but they could do anything. Well, what other characters? Oh, we know that Nightcrawler's in it.
That's true.
In
Apocalypse.
I actually
think look, not so much. I don't know if it's the actor, if it's the makeup. Like that, so much something's off there. But I really like how he's dressed. It's very I don't know, like 80s street rat.
I'm excited that we're getting him again. I think that is a really appropriate...
Here's a question. Do we mention Azazel?
Yeah, you'd think... Well, maybe that's the reason that he's in it. I mean, maybe they're going to specifically do something with that. Yeah, but, maybe he and... Well, but, did he and Mystique get together? I kind of doubt that. But is Mystique going to actually be his mother? Did something happen that we didn't know about? You know what I mean?
She's technically old enough to be his mother.
Oh, no.
I mean, it's been 20 years since first class.
Yeah, certainly, but she would have had to have had some relationship we didn't know about.
She is the only one that gets a pass for not aging 20 years.
That's right. Yep.
Because Beast also won't have I doubt they're gonna hold up Beast.
No, but now have we seen any pictures of him yet? Because I think it would be cool if as he's aging, he starts to look more like the Kelsey Grammer version. If the makeup they give him is a little closer to that.
I bet you he's Beast form the entire time. I bet you that's how they get around that.
He's what? Now? Oh, in Beast form. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's an easy way. Well, how do we know he's not 20 years older? He's all blue and hairy.
It's easy to and like I said, I would just make him look... I would do two things. I would make him look a little bit more in makeup, like the Kelsey Grammer version, and I would have him gain about 30 pounds.
Yeah.
And that would help.
I think...
Anyway...
I just think that this whole X-Men universe is a quagmire.
Yeah, but I'm kind of excited about about how uncertain it is, right?
From Marvel, because I have no idea what comes next in the X-Men. Right?
Yeah, that's what's so exciting about it. I mean, it might be a train wreck, but it's likely not to be. I mean, if we keep the right talent on it, because clearly we got people that are energetic and excited to be here again.
Yeah.
In making this stuff, I will say this. I wish we could give Matthew Vaughn another one.
Oh, me too.
That would be wonderful.
I absolutely agree. I don't know if he'd do it.
And I'd be fine with Singer for as long as he wants to do it. But I would love to bring Matthew Vaughn, and of course, do what they're doing with the extra Star Wars projects, and keep bringing in cool new talent for the offshoots.
Yeah, I'd love to see Matthew Vaughn get just give Matthew Vaughn X-Force or something like that.
But I mean,
Statics. He'd actually probably be really good at Statics.
Do you think that Singer will do any more after this? Since it's the end of a trilogy thing.
I don't know.
I kind of doubt it.
Well, one, because it's not his trilogy. I mean, it's kind of his trilogy.
I would argue it is. He co-wrote First Class. He's been there since the beginning with these.
Yeah, I don't want to be a jerk and cynical.
Okay.
If I was Bryan Singer, I would ride that gravy train until they kick me off those films. Everything else I've done since I left this franchise has been a failure, and no one liked it or saw it.
Yeah.
I seem to be able to do these X-Men things pretty well, right?
Yeah. That's what I would do. Just hang on there, keep doing it, make it your baby.
And I mean, X-Men's so kind of wide. Like, if he wants to make a space movie, he can
tell
send it to space
any kind of story you wanted to. You could do a mostly dialogue-driven thing. It wouldn't all have to be super action-packed. I mean, there's a lot of ways to make an action movie.
X2 is kind of like that.
It is
almost not an action.
That's what I love about it. And when it does get out, we always this is so cool. I'm so glad you said that. I've never said this, and I wish I had, because I don't gush over X2 nearly enough. Clearly,
no, I love X2. I think X2 holds up way better than people give it credit for.
It's one of the best. It's in my top 5 probably of superhero movies. And the thing with although it's really hard now to say which is better between it and Days of Future Past, but I still think I put it above it like there much.
Well, my favorite is First Class, but I love X2.
Yeah, I also love her, and then it just becomes a matter of like what characters and stories and things. You know what I mean? Like as far as preference. But with
First Class, it's all about preference. It's the setting. It's the '60s. It's that kind of Bond mod kind of a thing.
Yeah, and see, for me with X2, it's all about Stryker. He's just such a fascinating character. It's that triad of him and Professor X and Magneto. But anyway, with X2, oh boy, I think I've lost my train of thought. What were we talking about? You said something that sparked a thing that I was
X2 being. It's dialogue-driven stories, not action-driven stories.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so people complain all the time about how superhero movies always have to have that obligatory giant third-act climactic action thing. X2 doesn't have that. It certainly has. There's fighting in that last act, and it's got the giant waterfall thing and all of that, but that's not what's driving it. The most exciting stuff that you're riveted by, and that's really affecting the drama and stuff, the most dramatic stuff in that is Professor X using his brain to probably kill people. It's a dude sitting in a chair. It's all about the implications of what's going to happen.
The most dangerous thing in that movie is an old guy going like this.
Yeah, right.
Panels.
So I mean, there's action stuff. There's the whole fight with Wolverine and Mystique and all of that. But
the really unfortunate Wolverine murders woman thing, or beats women throughout those movies.
Oh, I never even thought about that.
Every movie ends with him like brutalizing a woman.
Well, yeah, but it's not his fault that Mystique is one of the most dangerous things in that, and she just happens to be a woman.
And then Lady Deathstrike, and then Jean.
That's true. But.
It's just an unfortunate thing that
It's happened. An unfortunate coincidence, but what are you gonna do? You gotta save the world or whatever. No.
No, I don't hate women. I'm just saving the world.
This got dark. I'm just saying that if it's between anyway, I don't want to talk about that anymore. So with but yeah, isn't that interesting though? That it's not really that same kind of thing, right? Like it's not Obadiah Stane decides to suddenly put on a giant suit and go out in the middle of everything while the whole movie he's been in secret. I mean, it's not that.
Part of what makes X-Men 2 so good is that, it is a legitimate film. Yeah. Like, a lot of superhero movies, I may love them and I might think they're great. They aren't great films. Like, I really like the Amazing Spider-Man movies. You compare those to normal movies, it's, you know what I mean? Like, we almost have a different standard because we're fans of these things. X-Men 2 is not like that, and I think the big thing that makes X-Men 2 a grown-up film, there's no supervillain. I mean, it's Magneto again, but Stryker's not a supervillain.
He's a different kind of antagonist, yeah. Now,
he didn't sell that movie on, in this movie, it's, the Nasty Boys. Well, I guess from recent years, they could do Schism as a thing.
Which you didn't
could use that to make, the blue and gold teams.
Which you didn't like, but you could do it better.
I didn't like the execution of Schism. I don't have a problem with the idea of Schism.
Yeah, okay. Well, and a lot of your problems with it were, continuity things where it was contradicting stuff, and you wouldn't have that problem.
It completely... You know what? It would totally work here, because you know what Wolverine hasn't done for all 7 films?
What's that?
Hung out with teenagers and take them into war zones.
It's a good point. He hasn't done a lot of that, has he? Now, he's trained them in X3 to do that, but as you said, that's not in there anymore.
Yeah, we're just ignoring that. We're just ignoring... I guarantee you we'll start just ignoring X1 and 2. It doesn't matter at this point.
No, I think Schism would be... Also, it would be interesting to introduce Wolverine that way. I mean, I'm sorry, to introduce the new actor who plays him. in that scenario. Although the problem with that would be you want Wolverine and Cyclops to have a lot of stuff between them before that.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, that needs to happen. Also, you know what I'm really excited about with Apocalypse? We haven't talked about this. And I guess we did talk a lot about that movie, but
robot horses, right?
Sorry, what?
I said robot horses, right? Like the horsemen riding around robot horses.
Okay. Yes, but also, I'm excited to have Cyclops and Jean Grey in a thing and actually develop their relationship and not have Wolverine in the middle of it.
That's true.
That's exciting.
If they bring Wolverine in, they put him in the middle of it, it'll be creepy because she'll be like 16.
Yeah, but no, because it might be, quite a bit later than that when we finally bring Wolverine in, but...
No, I meant like if Hugh Jackman was in this.
Oh, yes. No, that would be, that would be strange.
Because I think he might be in it. I'm really unclear whether he's in it or in a cameo or something.
Well, if he's in it, then they might use that movie to give us something about what happens with Weapon X in this. I am fixated on that.
They should have done a bullet, and then none of this is going to matter. He's not going to remember.
I've already made that joke. You can't. I've already done that. No, anyway. Well, as I said, what do you folks think is going to happen in the future of X-Men? Leave your comments. Excited to see what other people say, and also other story arcs you think would be cool to see adapted. That's exciting as well.
Yeah, well, and like I think, like with Genosha, or Nation X, the whole Fraction thing. It's not even that story. It's just the idea of X-Men get a nation, or mutants get a nation.
I think that's great. Don't you think, this is the last thing I'll say, do you think it's really interesting that we're still in this continuity? Because it could have so easily been rebooted by now or dropped.
First Class.
Yeah. Well, what was really funny was when First Contact, that's a different thing. When First Class came out, I argued constantly with people who swore up and down that it was a straight-up reboot.
I did too, and people always pointed to Mystique and Emma Frost.
Yeah, and I'm not saying before it came out. I mean, after folks saw it, they swore up and down that it was a straight-up reboot.
Well, the Mystique thing was...
That was going to forget everything.
They clearly don't have that relationship in 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Xavier and Mystique.
They certainly don't seem to, but then you get into Days of Future Past, and Patrick Stewart is acting like they did,
Yeah.
Damn.
Doesn't all make sense. Doesn't matter.
Not when and again, those individual movies are pretty good.
I forgot to mention... Yeah. I think it's Wolverine, or no, it's Gambit. Chris Claremont's writing Gambit, or is at least doing the story treatment.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Well, what's so fascinating about that for me, Gambit's a character he introduced and then quickly left the book. Like all the Thieves Guild stuff, everything you think of, that's not Claremont.
Which means he could go a totally different direction with that character.
Well, I mean, kind of, I always thought it was amusing in X-Men Forever, which was the series where he picked up right after.
Yeah.
He changed him to Remy Picard, because he never actually used the name LeBeau.
Picard?
Yeah, Remy Picard.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. I've read a little bit of that book, but not a lot of it. I like what I read of that, though.
I did, too. I've got the omnibuses, the Chris Claremont Jim Lee omnibuses, that I've been slowly working my way through for like 4 years. Not 4 years, like 3 years. Maybe 2.
I made Spawn Year, and he read...
I'm almost to Extinction Agenda.
I spent 2 years to make Spawn Year, and he spent 2 years and did not finish X-Men Forever.
It's really wordy. No, not X-Men Forever. The Chris Claremont Jim Lee stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah.
It's really wordy, but I've always kind of entertained the notion of when I finally finish those, it's two omnibuses in a hardcover. I'm just saying. But when I finally finish those, picking up right from where those leave off.
Yeah.
And going to Forever, because that's where Forever picks up.
Yeah. And is not as wordy and written more like a modern comic and.
Not as much as you would think. My favorite thing is when Angel shows up and they're like, "Weren't you blue and had metal wings?" Yeah, I'm done with that. He's just not anymore.
It's not, but I mean, it's not like Stan Lee, right? Where like Stan Lee writes just like he did in 1962.
Yeah, Stan Lee can't. Yeah.
He has a.
It's better.
I'm just saying.
Actually better, but more natural.
He's moved along with the times a little bit. Some. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but then you look at guys like Jerry Conway, and they're completely updated.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're going to go ahead and bid you farewell now. Thanks for watching. We sure appreciate it. And Eric, thanks for talking to me so long about this. These are some of, for me, the most fun things we do, partly because it's the first thing we ever did together.
Well, and this went into completely different directions that I never expected. So
yeah, well, we weren't prepared at all. We just said, let's do this. And then we did
let's talk about this.
Well, thanks, folks. We appreciate it. I'm Captain Logan.
We've completed our X-Men prediction trilogy.
That's Eric. Thanks for watching. See you later.